What is up, homies? My name is Felix and I'm here back again with another video for you all today. And in this one, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make these Pluggnb type beats that I've been seeing a lot recently. The Pluggnb genre is not like a new thing. It's been around for a couple of years now. And if you don't know what it is, they're basically just these style of beats that have like cheesy 80s and 90s R&B type melodies over some plug type beat drums. And there's a lot of different people that could be credited with kind of creating this genre and pioneering the genre and all this type of stuff. But the main two artists that are kind of recognized for this genre are and Summrs. Like I said, there's probably a lot more people who do this kind of style as well, and a lot of producers that could be credited with this and all that type of stuff, but whatever, you guys get the point. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produce, my beats on my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so. And now we can get into this video. Alright, so here we are inside of FL Studio right now, and the first thing I'm going to do is work on the melody. So with the melody, what we're going to do is we're going to have some major 7th and minor 7th chords in there. You can even go with some 9th chords or 11th chords, whatever you want to do, but usually those type of chords are good for like R&B and soul and whatever other kind of stuff. And in reality, they're pretty good for a lot of other genres as well, but we're trying to go for that R&B type feel. So the first big thing with these Pluggnb type beats is that they're usually always going to have like 7 instances of purity. And that's kind of like a plug beat thing. Like a lot of plug producers will just use purity like 100 times. And I will be using purity a little bit. However, though, it's really not that important. A lot of the presets in purity can be swapped out for another plugin like Expand or something like that, which is much cheaper. So yeah, a lot of times they use purity, but it's not an essential thing. As long as you can find sounds that are similar, you'll be fine. So the first sound that we're going to want to pull up is some type of electric piano. And with the electric piano sound, you want to go for something that's like a little bit in between super cheesy and unrealistic and kind of a little bit more realistic. So what I'm going to be using is a combo of this sound right here, which, as you can hear, does not sound really anything like a real electric piano, but I'm also going to be pairing it with this one right here, which actually does sound quite a bit more realistic. So like I said, I'm just going to start off with a simple little progression of major, minor, and 7th chords, and we're just going to see where we can take it from there. Also, I almost forgot to mention that you probably want to have your tempo at anywhere from like 130 to 140. That's usually a pretty good BPM for these type of beats. Alright, so I just made a really basic chord progression here, all 7th chords and everything. One thing I am going to do is copy these bass notes here by hitting Control and Shift at the same time and then clicking and dragging over them. And then we're just going to hit Shift and then click and drag this down an octave so that we have the bass notes here. And now I'm going to hold down Alt and then down on my scroll wheel. And this basically just gives your chords a little bit more volume. Not like actual volume, but like, you know, thickness. But now that we have this, we basically have our chord progression done, and I'm going to put the other layer on here, the other purity layer. Okay, so now I'm going to add one more layer to this, and it's going to be a layer from Expand. And it's just like this Suitcase EP kind of preset thing. As you can hear, it's a little bit fuller, and we're just kind of thickening those chords out a little bit. So one thing I usually like to do with my chords is go Alt and then S and then strum the chords a little bit, which just gives it a little bit more human feel. And then you want to also do Alt R, and this randomizes the velocities just a little bit. You don't really want to go too crazy with it though and have stuff sounding like this, because that's a little bit too much and it doesn't exactly fit with what we're going for here. So the other thing that you're usually going to hear with these Pluggnb type beats is some type of little strings in there. And they're usually not going to be full chord strings. They're usually going to be like one note of strings. And I'm going to get these strings from Purity, but there's a lot of good strings presets inside of Expand, or I think even Hybrid has some good strings. I'm pretty sure there's a common preset for these type of beats if you care about that kind of stuff. And it's these V Anna strings inside of Purity. So I'm pretty sure either one of these two is one that they use pretty often. They both sound pretty similar, but you really want to go for like not a super realistic type of string. As you can hear, this is clearly like a fake string preset, but it's going to work really good for the type of sound that we want to achieve here. So what notes you put in for the strings is totally up to you. Like I said, you don't really want to have the whole chord going here because that kind of just makes it too much. And we're really not going for an orchestral type beat here. We just want these strings to accent the chords a little bit. So any one of the notes of the chords will sound fine. A lot of times I like to do the bass notes for certain other type of beats, but I found that for these beats, I like doing one of the middle notes of the chords. So I'll usually do like this one, something like this. And obviously this note right here doesn't match up with this chord, but I just thought that it sounded good, so I included it in there. And then also, if you want to, you can do Control L to make all these notes touch. But now the final piece of this melody that's really gonna give it that nice R&B type feel is the little synthy type sound. So I'm gonna use Purity for this as well, but this is a really, really simple sound that you can get in pretty much any other plugin. It's basically just like a simple square wave. So if you go into lead synth, you can get pretty much any one of these and they'll sound fine for this. And the preset I'm gonna use is this simple square one. Super nice sound, super smooth, and like I said, it's just a basic square wave. So I'm gonna go into the piano roll with this, and what I like to do is start the little lead sound a little bit late. So I'm not gonna have it be right here on the one. However, you can totally do that if you want to, and there's a lot of Pluggnb type beats that do that. But personally for this beat, I'm just gonna start it a little bit late. Just something like this, really simple, will work. Really basic, but it sounds really good. One thing that I made sure to do was to drag these notes so that they don't start like this. As you can hear, there's a little click sound, so what I did instead was just drag them out a little bit, and now the notes are gonna glide into one another. So like I said, there's really no formula to this. Everybody kind of does it differently. But one thing that I've noticed I kind of do with the lead is that I'll have it be like in the sections where the chords are ending and then going to the next chord. So as you can see, this right here is solely in this section where the chord ends and is switching to the next chord. And then these longer notes right here are playing when the chords actually hit. So it kind of just makes it so that the lead goes very well together with the chords. So that's one thing you can try if you'd like to. All right, so I just reworked the melody a little bit and I came up with something that sounds like this. So another thing you'll sometimes hear with these beats is a couple other different counter melodies in there. So sometimes they'll have a bell counter melody. Sometimes they'll maybe have a little guitar or another lead or something like that. I'll maybe just add a bell in there or maybe like another piano or something like that and pretty much call it a day. Because I don't really want to overcomplicate the melody on this one. I've seen a lot of people try to do this and they really, just throw everything into the melody. And even though sometimes it does sound good to add a bunch of different melodies in there, sometimes it makes it hard for a rapper to rap over your beat when you have a bunch of different stuff in there. All right, so I just added a couple simple little melodies. I added this one right here, which is just a bell melody, and it sounds like this. And then I've got this one right here, which is supposed to be some type of guitar sound, but it doesn't really sound like a guitar. And when you look at your whole melody all put together, these are not really supposed to stick out at you or anything. They're supposed to just be like supporting elements. Alright, so now we've got the melody pretty much done and we get to the other half, the second most important part of this beat, which is going to be the drums. And if you've heard these type of beats, you might have thought to yourself like, wow, these drums sound really complicated. And to be honest, they're not. It's just very, kind of different and unique sound. So with your drum sounds, you're going to just use some basic plug type drums. So if you've got like a Mexico drill kit, that'll work just fine. If you have, a simple Zaytoven drum kit, that'll work just fine. To be honest with you, there's probably a million different drum kits out there that have the exact sounds that you need. So you're really not going to have to look far. If you just Google plug drum kit or something like that, you'll find exactly what you need. Alright, so I just selected my drum sounds now, and if you've been making beats for at least a little bit of time, you're going to recognize pretty much all of these sounds. So these are the drum sounds that I'm going to be using. As you can hear, all some very basic drum sounds, but the first thing I'm going to do is take the hi-hat and literally just go like this. And then we're just going to copy this over, so we have 4 bars over here. And now we're going to hit Control A and then hit Alt and scroll down on our scroll wheel so that these have a much softer velocity. And then we're going to take our clap and put it in the basic spot where we usually put it, just like this. And then usually right away with your snare, you're going to want to have something like this maybe, or maybe a little triplet like this. And then I like to do something like this here. And then I'm also going to take this rim shot and put it right here. And then maybe put one in here and here. And then obviously we can't forget the classic chant here, so we're going to put that in like here and then maybe in another spot too. Maybe here. So now that we've got a really basic 2 bars for the drums, what I'm going to do is basically copy the same thing over for the next 2 bars, but I'm just going to add a little variation. So I might do something like this instead and have these be like this, and maybe, do something like that. and then take out this or something like that. You just want to have a little variation because you don't want to throw off the bounce or anything, but you just want to, you know, keep the beat fresh. So the final thing that you'll sometimes hear in these Pluggnb type beats is a change in pitch with your drums. So sometimes certain things might be pitched up, sometimes certain things might be pitched down. It's kind of totally up to you. However, what I'm going to do for this beat is pitch up the hi-hats and the snares a little bit and then pitch down the clap, because a lot of times they'll actually put like a filter over the clap and it'll be kind of more tucked away, which is really interesting. So I'm going to kind of do that by pitching down the clap a little bit. So now really the only thing we have left to do is the 808, and the 808 is pretty simple. We don't want to do anything too fancy for this. You basically just want to go to your 808, make sure cut itself is on, and then go into the piano roll, and then really just do a basic pattern following the root notes of the chords. And then you want to obviously make sure that you turn your velocities way up on your 808 so that they hit way harder. Alright, so at this point here, we're pretty much done. You can play the beat and, you know, listen to your work, admire what you've done so far. But the one other thing, the final cherry on top that you're probably going to see with a lot of these beats is this little like plug tick kind of sound. And it kind of sounds like this. And you can keep this in here just like this if you want. But a lot of times I've heard it where it's sped up a little bit like this kind of. And that's kind of what they use as a little transition type thing a lot of times, and I think it sounds pretty good. But yeah, honestly at this point we're pretty much done. There's only really two things left that we need to do, and that's mixing the beat and laying out the beat and sequencing and stuff. I'm actually not going to show my mixing process within this video because I did actually just make a video on it, and that video is right here if you want to watch it. But there is one important thing that you definitely need to know about laying out the beat. So something you'll hear a lot of times is the 808 doesn't hit right away. So let's say you got your little intro or whatever here going like this. That sounds nice or whatever, it's cool, but it's kind of basic. So what we want to do is go like this and make it so that the 808 doesn't come in right away. And that just gives it a little bit more character, a little bit more flavor. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I just figured I would show you everything that usually kind of occurs in these type of beats. But yeah, other than that, the layout is usually going to be pretty simple, you know, just 32 bars of the beat playing. And then every 8 bars, you want to maybe switch it up a little bit, like take out the chant or something, maybe take out the shaker at certain points, maybe bring back in the shaker, take out the rim, take out the lead at certain points, take out some of the counter melodies, whatever you want to do. You just want to make it so that the beat doesn't get too repetitive, because even though this is a nice 8 bars that we've created, nobody wants to listen to the same 8 bars for, you know, 3 minutes straight. But yeah, honestly, that's pretty much going to do it for this little Pluggnb tutorial here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know down in the comments below and I will get back to you. Also, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produce, my beats on my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so. And I will see you guys next time.